Okay, we're continuing. This is part 5 of quotes by Goethe from my book, Holy Grail Wisdom Quotes by E.P. Rogers. Okay, so Goethe disapproved of the French Revolution right from the very start. He saw that it was BS. The French Revolution was like the Communist Revolution. It was a very evil thing. They murdered tons of priests and nuns, R-A-P-E-D, the nuns, and then they, took off the heads of over 50,000 people. It was a disaster. It was nothing like the USA 1776. It's important to get that. It was much more like the Communist Revolution in 1918. Okay, it was a disaster. Okay, and then Napoleon took charge, and he did what he had to do to take charge, somewhat tyrannical. And Goethe was a little bit open-minded in Napoleon, hoping that Napoleon would do something useful. But Napoleon, he did some good things, but he also did some bad things. He got rid of the Holy Roman Empire. I would have preferred to see Europe stay unified, which I know was becoming more difficult as it was becoming more mixed Protestant and Catholic. Okay, but the problem with Protestantism, it tends to drift into secularism, and the ruler takes it over, corrupts it even more, and it becomes a joke. All right. Goethe was considered the great writer of Germany, sort of like what Shakespeare was for England and the English language, Dante for Italian, okay, Dostoevsky for Russian. Michael Sugrue, the great philosopher, I showed a picture of him and before part 1 of Goethe quotes. He said, Faust was to literature what Beethoven's Ninth was to music. In part 1 of Faust, he seduces Gretchen, a local German girl, and that has a very chaotic relationship. And he was also hoping to sort of standardize and establish a German literature, the German language and whatnot. Just like Martin Luther was part 1 of the German language, Goethe's sort of like part 2. People even say Goethe exhausted the German language. He wrote things in every genre, from a novel to poems to plays to Faust, his new creation. He worked on Faust all his life. Part 1 came out when he was a young man, but the part 2 didn't come out until published after his death. He worked on it his whole life. In part 2, he seduces Helen of Troy, and what he's doing in part 2 is, in a sense, trying to unify literature with classicism, okay, back with the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans. And he was very well educated in all these things. He was fluent, in Latin and Greek. In part 2, he seduces Helen of Troy, travels back in time, and has a child with her. He was a big Hellenist. He loved the ancient Greeks. He'll later on say the ancient Greeks, of all the people that ever existed on this planet, had the best understanding of what a good life should be like. The ancient Greeks were magnificent. They're one of the most useful things a person could study. People should learn about them, beginning at a young age. You should start studying them in junior high and keep on learning about them, because they opened your mind to what is capable, what humans are capable of. And mostly good, about 90% good, about 10% bad. There's some bad in everything, but okay. Let's see. Goethe was also kind of a macho man and a ladies' man. I mean, he was a big superstar. He was a superstar, like best-selling author when he was 25 years old with The Sorrows of Young Werther. Then he was given this appointment in Weimar to be a big leading guy. He ran the courts. He ran the theater. He was also a great scientist. He traveled around Europe. He published in botany. He published in optics on color theory. Okay, here's some quotes. But one of the things Goethe says, he says, fierce cheersmen and effeminate aspirants will chide and hate my name, but every keen beholder of life will justify my truth. So I like that about him. He was sort of willing to challenge old ways and do things better. He said, nothing is more damaging to a new truth than an old error. Of all the peoples, the Greeks have dreamt the best dream of life. Beauty is everywhere a welcome guest. And that's pretty well known. A woman could be as dumb as a chimpanzee, but if she's cute, she's welcome, and she'll even get a husband. Okay? So it's just how it is. Let's see. Goethe says, for a butterfly, reproduction involves the sacrifice of life. For a human, the sacrifice of beauty. Okay. There's other people that have said, caterpillar turns into a butterfly, but a human, after they have their kids, most people, they get fat and they lose their looks. Butterflies turn into caterpillars. Okay, but it doesn't have to be that bad. Okay, we all get older. We don't have to age that bad. Okay, we are so constituted that we believe the most incredible things, and once they are engraved upon the memory, woe to him who would endeavor to erase them. Yeah, most people don't like change in their beliefs or thoughts, so it's hard to teach them anything once they get too fixed in their opinions. Okay, truth must be repeated again and again because error is constantly being preached roundabout. Yes, it takes effort to preserve the truth. You have to love the truth to maintain it and teach it to others. The truly creative man has no master. He must be allowed to go his own way. And that's like what Beethoven said. Beethoven says if an artist really has talent, he knows better than anyone else what's best for him. But at the same time, it's really good for him to get coaching, especially when he's young. In all things, it is better to hope than to despair. The artist who is not also a craftsman is no good. But alas, most of our artists are nothing else. Yeah, a person to be a good artist has to go beyond craft. They have to have inspiration. They have to learn a bunch of things from a bunch of different areas so they have something unique to say. Goethe, it is belief in the Bible, the fruits of deep meditation, which has served as the guide of my moral and literary life. If children grew up according to early indications, we should have nothing but geniuses. Yeah, and that's what I've seen. A lot of people have made that observation. Kids, they're smart when they come from their parents' house, who talks to them and encourages them to ask questions and to think about the answers. That makes kids smart. But once they go to the public schools, they get dumbed down and the kids become dull, apathetic, and cynical and grouchy, untrusting. Catholic school teaches them that adults are FOS. Okay, the public school teaches kids that. Okay, Goethe, through practice, teaching, reflection, success, and failure, and again reflection, man's mind unconsciously will link what he acquires with his innate gifts so that a unity results which will leave the world amazed. Okay, so some people think that Goethe's Faust is one of these most incredible great works of literature, and it's really tough to bring that out of the German language. It doesn't translate so well because it's mostly in poetic form, kind of written almost like an epic. And it changes when he's talking about the Greeks. He used Greek forms of poetry, and other languages and other parts he uses other types of poetry. So it's been very difficult for anybody to translate that into another language. And so what I'm basically saying is I think Faust is overrated. What I like best about Goethe was he was upbeat, he was encouraging, he was audacious. He said, I'm going to do science, I'm going to do literature, I'm going to be a statesman, I'm going to do all these things. So I like all that about him. But do I really think he's that great a writer? No. Okay, Goethe continues. He is dangerous who has nothing to lose. Yeah, that's a good quote. All extraordinary men who have achieved great things have been called crazy by the world. Yeah, whenever somebody does something great intellectual, they get hatred from the establishment because it fears a loss of prestige or money. So they don't like a new up-and-coming heretic to mock what they're doing or show that there's a better way. They don't like that. Okay. And the public is kind of funny. The public always thinks that, you know, the new innovator is going to be appreciated. That's because they're used to seeing commercials for some tech innovation that a company wants to profit off, a commercial. And so they think, oh, wow, it must be like that in all academic, scientific, technical fields. No, no, no. Innovation, true innovation is not welcome. And most innovations, they're really totally overrated, like a cell phone. Is a cell phone really such a great thing? I don't think so. Okay, it's not really your friend as much as you think it is. Okay, none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. The truth has been kept from the minds of by the masters who rule them with lies. They feed them on falsehoods until wrong looks like it's right in their eyes. Yeah, that's like a typical, American, or somebody who supports, this hand, the LEFT, okay? It's like, are you retarded? That group is trying to, side you, and you think that they're your friend? Are you stupid? Goethe, my character passes from extreme joy to extreme melancholy. Yeah, that's often characteristic of a lot of people. It's normal, actually, to have that sometimes. And there's actually a characteristic trait of really bright people. It's called overexcitability. They get too pumped up emotionally about things which other persons might consider minor events. But some of that so-called overexcitability also energizes them that when they can focus on something, they can actually do really good work. Okay, Goethe, stupidity is without anxiety. Yeah, that's one thing. Everybody's seen that. The person who's kind of stupid, they live in a happy world. There's some ignorance is bliss. Goethe, what is not started today is never finished tomorrow. Goethe, architecture is frozen music. Okay, that's it for today.